Champaign County. This is Mrs. Kaper from Champaign County Ag in the Classroom, and I'm glad to be with you. It's unfortunate I can't be in your classrooms this year, bringing my cart in with all of my stuff and teaching you. But boys and girls, I'm bringing your lessons right to you. I hope you have a chance to take a look at other lessons that I'll have on my YouTube channel as well. Boys and girls, we're getting ready to celebrate 50 years of Earth Day on the 22nd of April. And I don't know about you, but I'm happy that I live in a place where there is ample soil and water and food, and I have clothing and all the things that I need. And the reason for that is the biggest part of Earth Day that we can talk about is how our land provides things for us. And land is taken care of by our farmers. Farmers take care of the soil and the water and other resources to make sure that you and I have the foods, the fibers, and the fuels that we need to live. So we celebrate Earth Day with some lessons about our Earth. Today we're talking about wind energy. And if you've been outside in the last few weeks, you've noticed it's been pretty windy. Wind comes no matter what time of the year it is. But someone a long time ago figured out that we can use wind to help us. Wind is what we call a renewable resource. That is, we're not going to run out of it. We can use it over and over and over again. Wind power uses energy from the wind to create electricity. Now, there are other renewable resources that you might be familiar with. Solar power, created from using the sun's rays. Hydropower, which is energy from falling water or fast-moving water. Geothermal energy, that is made from the heat of the earth. Biomass, which means that we are using materials that are or were living in the environment. Now, all of those resources are renewable. That means they're green or sustainable, if you've ever heard those terms before. Over 5,000 years ago, ancient Egyptians used wind to sail ships on the Nile River. They put wind to work for them. People in Persia built big windmills in order to grind grain that they needed for their food. Again, putting the wind to work for them. And much later, people figured out how to build propeller-type blades for windmills to do some work for them. Now, our windmills have come a long way, because now we have figured out how we can convert wind energy into mechanical energy or electricity. I want you to take a look at the link below for more information about how that all works. But how can we make wind work for us? Well, I want to tell you about a boy who's not a boy anymore. He's a young man. His name is William, and he lived in Malawi. And his family was about to die from starvation. They had a drought, and their harvest was not enough to feed them. And William was forced to drop out of school to just work on the farm and help his family. And William had a thought. He said, I wonder if I can help our family's farm. I wonder if I can bring in enough water in some way to keep our crops alive. And so William began to read and to think and to try something. And the story of what he did is how his imagination and ingenuity changed his family, his village, and his nation. What William did is captured in this book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And if you can get a hold of it, I would highly encourage you to read it. There's also a Netflix special that's been made about his life. But what William did was, he went to the junkyard and he found scraps and parts, bikes and wood and other scraps, and he built a windmill. And that windmill blew. And when it blew, it created energy. And that energy was formed into electricity, and his house finally had lights in it. And once he figured that out, he built another windmill. And that windmill was powered to bring water so that they could water their crops, giving them a better harvest, giving them more food, and giving them a way to survive. William's story is pretty amazing. He says, trust yourself and believe whatever happens, and don't give up. Boys and girls, I know you've done some STEM projects, and I know in STEM, you've learned the engineering design. Ask, imagine, plan, create, and improve. You see, engineering is all about solving problems. And William had a problem, all right, and he went to work to solve it. And he didn't solve it the first time or the second time or even the 100th time. He had to continually try different things until he created a windmill that worked and served the purpose that he wanted it to. He repeated it as many times as necessary to solve the problem. So we're going to start a little project. We're going to build our own working windmill. Here's what you'll need. You'll need a windmill template, and your teachers hopefully got this to you. If they didn't, you really just need a 4x4x4x4 square. And I'm using cardstock. You can also make it 6 inches if you'd like to. You'll need a straw. You'll need 2 rubber bands. I have 2 small clear rubber bands. You need some string or yarn. You need a Dixie cup. You need a hole punch, but you could survive without one and use something else. And I've got a fan here. So while you gather up all your materials, I'm going to get mine ready and I'll show you how to make this working windmill. Step 1, cut out your template. Step 2, punch the holes that are marked on your template. If you don't have a template, just punch the lower left-hand corner all the way around your square, like this. Now, if you don't have a hole punch, I highly recommend finding a pencil that's very sharp, and you can push that pencil through those holes and make those as well. Step 3, cut on the solid lines toward the center, not quite to the center though. Stop before you get to the center. Step 4, stick your straw through the middle, and then carefully bring the corners of your fan that you punched holes in up and thread them through the straw. Go all the way around in order so that you've got all 4 corners threaded through the straw. Step 5, once you have your fan threaded through, move it to about the middle of the straw and secure it in place with 2 rubber bands, 1 on each side. Step 6, now that you have your pinwheel secured with your rubber bands, 1 on each side, you might be thinking, Mrs. Kaper, my pinwheel is not going to move freely. That's exactly what we want. We want your pinwheel not to spin. We want the straw to spin. Test it out between your finger and your thumb, let it rest, and blow on it, and it should spin. Step 7, poke 2 holes in the side of a small cup or container that you have. And again, use a hole punch, or you can punch it through with a pencil. And then thread your yarn, your string, or your twine through that bucket. Now, you're not going to tie this up at the top like this. What you're going to do is you're going to tie one end at the bottom at the bucket, leaving the other end free to attach to your straw. Step 8, once you have your bucket attached, you're going to attach the bucket and the string to your straw. Now this can kind of get tricky. Tie it nice and tight so that it doesn't spin when the straw is spinning. Step 9, once your string is attached to your straw, place that straw again between your thumb and your first finger and blow. If your string is tied nice and tight to your straw, as the straw spins, it will lift your bucket. That force of your wind causing the propellers to spin just did some work for you. It lifted a bucket. Now, try it with some pennies or some grain or some rice or cereal. Put some in. See how heavy you can make that bucket before it won't pull anymore. Boys and girls, that is your working windmill.
3, 2, 1.
To wrap up today's Earth Day lesson, I've got a couple jokes for you. You ready? What kind of tree can you grow on your hand? Any guess? A palm tree. And what kind of shorts do clouds wear? Thunderwear.